Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is Spencer. So, Spencer, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. So my name is Spencer Bonthoux. I'm the founder and CEO of DropCommerce, e-commerce platform hosted on the Shopify, Wix, and BigCommerce app ecosystems. And what we do is connect merchants with high-quality products from Canadian and American suppliers for dropshipping and upsell product sourcing.
Awesome. So I'm just curious kind of how it works. So if I have my own brand, if you can just kind of dive into like the weeds of like how will DropCommerce work for me?
Yeah, absolutely. For a brand or an aspiring entrepreneur that is just getting into e-commerce, how it works is they would, start by setting up their storefront on, let's say, Shopify. They would find the DropCommerce app in the app ecosystem and install it to their store. And once they're in DropCommerce, what they can do is source and discover new products to sell. All of our products are from Canadian and American suppliers. And when they find a niche or a product that they are interested in selling, they can import that product directly into their store so that it's facing right towards the customer. And as their customers make purchases of those products, DropCommerce then processes the order information to the supplier, and the supplier ships it directly to the end customer. So it basically just allows for the merchant to source products and have those orders fulfilled without them having to worry about maintaining inventory.
Awesome. So I'm just curious more about your background as well. So have you been like in the e-commerce space for a while? Like were you a merchant? Like, what made you kind of like come up with this idea?
Yeah, so I've been in the e-commerce space for 8 years now, since launching DropCommerce. But yeah, to be honest, before that, I was not in the e-commerce space. I was interested in the e-commerce space. I was curious about dropshipping. I had read 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and of course, I'd get all the ads about dropshipping. So I started to explore it with my co-founder at the time. But what we quickly found was that a lot of the options for sourcing products were very cheap, very long shipping times from products that are sourced from overseas. And we were a little disappointed to see that. It was like, here's a $3 watch from China, you sell it for $60. And we just didn't look at that as a very sustainable business. And that's what inspired us to start DropCommerce. So it was my interest in e-commerce that got me into DropCommerce, but I didn't really have too much prior experience. I just wanted to fix a solution for a problem that we were seeing right off the bat.
Makes sense. So I guess in terms of DropCommerce, right, like obviously, like as you said, you can help with lots of different products. So if you can just talk about like what types of products typically do you guys help find and like what does that process look like?
Yeah, so our goal is to have products that will fit in any niche that the merchant could be looking for. We just work with Canadian and American suppliers. All the products are sourced from suppliers that ship from within the States or Canada, mostly the United States. And the categories are kind of all over the place. We have everything from, handmade candles to home goods to a solar panel distributor. So and everything in between. So the goal being that it's a wide open marketplace, and if you have a specific niche in mind, you can come on to DropCommerce and find a product.
That's awesome. So I guess like, it seems like DropCommerce is a good platform for people who just want to start a brand, don't have much capital, right? Because like, do you have to pay up front, or is it kind of like you're paying once you go and sell the product?
Yeah, so that's kind of the beauty of what we've built. So it's very low cost and low barrier entry. You can get started by, well, for starters, if you sign up on Shopify right now, I believe the first 3 months are $1 per month. So very low cost to get your storefront established. With DropCommerce, I believe we're the only product sourcing app that does this potentially, but you can get started for free. So if you want to find products and kind of dip your toes into e-commerce, you can do so without any risk. You can import products into your store. You just can't fulfill any of the orders until you subscribe to one of our monthly plans. So you can get started for very, very low cost, and then you have more resources to allocate towards, your marketing budget or something like that. And you don't pay for any of the products until they've actually been sold to one of your customers. So dropshipping is a beautiful thing because it's just a kind of a crash course into entrepreneurship. You learn a lot without having to, pay a massive tuition. You can get started easy, and it's an affordable way to start.
For sure. And it's awesome, like, because you said earlier that you're kind of like focused on folks here in North America. So how do you like make sure that the quality is high? Obviously, there's many suppliers. Obviously, like overseas, the quality is typically not as high, but here, in the States and Canada, it's higher. But do you guys have folks that go and evaluate these suppliers? Like, what is your process for that?
Yeah, so if a supplier applies, we do an interview with them. We check out their website. We look at any kind of reviews, maybe on like Trustpilot or anything like that, just to vet the supplier and make sure that they're a proper business, they're fulfilling orders. And then we allow merchants to also order samples, so they can order a sample product to their own residence or their own office. They can test the quality, see how quickly it arrived, and then they can, also take lifestyle pictures or marketing with those sample products. And then we have an internal review system as well. So merchants can review the suppliers and the products internally. And so other merchants can, if they come across a supplier's profile, they can see, they have this many reviews, they can read the reviews. We also assign badges for like quick response time, quick shipping time, and that sort of thing. So we kind of leave it to the internal, like we do our initial vetting process, and then we leave it to the marketplace to determine if the suppliers are worth keeping or not. And if there's ever any issues, we'll take action and potentially either speak to the supplier or remove them completely from the network. And that system has worked pretty well for us so far.
So I guess like if like, let's just say that I want to work with one of your suppliers and I want to have like a branded product. So how do I go about like, getting like the packaging and all of that sorted just to make sure it's like my brand?
Yeah. So all of our suppliers ship with your branded packing slip. So that's the baseline that when your order is shipped out, the customer or you, if you're ordering a sample, are going to receive it with your branding on the packing slip. Later this year, we're hoping to launch more into white labeling. So like print on demand and custom packaging. We haven't gotten there yet, but it is something that's in the works. But as a baseline, all products are shipped with your personal branding.
For sure. And you mentioned Shopify, Wix. So what about other integrations? Amazon, TikTok Shop? Like, do you guys do that? Or I guess, like, what does that look like for you in the pipeline?
Yeah. So currently we're, as I mentioned, Shopify, Wix, BigCommerce. We're launching onto WooCommerce as well early next month, which we're really excited about. And we're also on a platform called Shop Plaza. We've looked at integrating with more marketplaces like TikTok Shop and that sort of thing. We haven't yet, but it's definitely something that we're interested in.
For sure. And obviously, like as you mentioned, you guys have like a pretty awesome value proposition. So what's been like the best way for you to go and get like the word out and meet founders and get, customers for DropCommerce?
Yeah, I mean, from our own perspective or our own experience, it's been a lot of organic growth just through being on these app ecosystems. So, we focus heavily on providing a really good platform, a really good service and experience. And thus we've gotten high reviews, which, help us in the app store. So a lot of our reach has been organic through these different e-commerce platform app ecosystems. We also were one of the first dropshipping apps to get the built for Shopify status as well, which is a recognition that Shopify uses in their app ecosystem. Otherwise, it's a lot of just word of mouth. We just try to provide the best experience so that our merchants, praise what we've accomplished and what they can do with our tool. Otherwise, we're always trying to connect with other Shopify app builders so that we can collaborate and try to solve problems for merchants.
For sure. So it's kind of like word of mouth, collaboration, like other Shopify app, tools where say, hey, like, listen, like they might do this, you do that, try and cross-sell, cross-promote, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. We've had lots of cases where, one of our partner apps has a merchant that comes in the door and they, are seeking their help with a specific problem. But then they also mentioned, I would love, an opportunity to have more products for an upsell opportunity. And then they push that traffic towards us, recommending us because they know that we do good work. So I do have to say the Shopify app ecosystem is amazing. Like that community is great. It's just a lot of people that are, wanting to help each other win and share in those wins and, try to solve problems together. So it's been great being in that community.
For sure. Yeah. I think the Shopify app ecosystem is definitely awesome. And I think that there's so many awesome partnerships and folks that are building things, I guess, in terms of like the future, right? Because you're talking about possible other integrations, products. What else are you kind of looking at in terms of, even rest of this year, next year, features, things like that?
Yeah, so lots of plans for the future. This year, we didn't get as many things done as I would have liked so far, but for a good reason. We've experienced massive growth on Shopify. Yeah, unbelievable growth on Shopify this year because we're being more recommended within the app ecosystem. So we've had to just make sure that we're scaling everything and increasing our suppliers and working with this big influx of new merchants. However, as I mentioned, more customization tools like print on demand and white labeling is on the roadmap. More integrations like I mentioned, launching on WooCommerce next month, and creating better upsell functionality. So allowing brands to cross-sell from each other more effectively, because we find that one of our most successful user-based segments are the brands that are well established. They have their customer base. They're already producing and selling products, but they just want more products to sell alongside that. We find that they do create a lot of success for themselves using DropCommerce. So leaning more into providing more tools for that segment is something that we're working on as well.
For sure. And so in terms of like, upsells and things like that, obviously many products, people might be selling like the same products. How do you kind of work with your customers or make sure that it's like something scalable, right? Because I think that's a challenge sometimes with drop shipping. It could be something, I don't know, you can get to a certain revenue and then all of a sudden, you can go to zero tomorrow. So how do you kind of like, look at that? Because obviously it does affect your guys' sales, right? 'Cause I'm assuming you take a certain percentage from the sales. So what do you guys do just to kind of, keep longevity in mind for your customers?
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to advise our merchants on best practices. We keep a steady flow of new suppliers all the time. So if a merchant is subscribed to a certain category or a certain niche, then we make sure to update them when we have 4 new suppliers in that niche. Here's a fresh new supply of products. We just try and keep everything really fresh and keep the influx of products and suppliers going as much as we can. I think just that in itself really helps keeping, merchants relevant. And the main thing too is just making sure that we have reliable suppliers that are going to fulfill orders and they're going to be arriving to the customers in a timely fashion, and the customers are happy with the quality. I think that's where we found the most success, as opposed to a lot of the other alternatives on the marketplace. Because with that, if you don't have that quality and that timely shipping, that's, I think, when you don't have a sustainable business, and that's when it goes under after a few months.
So in terms of like, obviously not naming or mentioning specific merchants per se, I guess like from what you've seen, right? Because like if somebody's watching this show and they, hey, like I want to, launch a store tomorrow, like, I want to use DropCommerce, like what have you seen in terms of, even if you can share like, monthly revenue, like what's possible, right? For somebody who's doing drop shipping, who's using DropCommerce, like what's even possible for somebody to achieve through your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think our most successful segments of our user base kind of fall into 2 categories. There's the one where it's an established brand and they're just looking for that upsell opportunity, and they're finding a lot of success. They're just increasing the sale value of their orders. But then just for somebody that's just getting started, I have a great example of somebody that just started with us a few months ago. We're powering their entire business. It's their primary source of income now. And they just discovered us, I believe through ChatGPT recommended us. They were tired of all the other apps, similar to my story of how we got started. They just saw a bunch of low quality products that they didn't want to sell. They discovered DropCommerce and they started selling, and 100% of the products that they are selling in their store are DropCommerce source products, and they hit profitability within, I believe, their first month of launching their store, and it's their primary source of income at this point. We're certainly going to be writing a case study and a success story on them, because they've been absolutely crushing it, and that's just in the last few months that this merchant has really started popping off. So the thing is and they're new too. They don't have a prior experience in e-commerce either. They just self-taught and went after it. So I would say, that's kind of the beautiful thing about what we do, is we empower merchants to, launch their entrepreneurial journey. And there's a ton of content out there for learning how to get this type of business started, and we provide the tools for it. And we're also launching our own course next week for free.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a free course. Merchants will see it. The first thing they'll see when they install the DropCommerce app is they'll see a link to download the free ebook, and it's just to try and help more merchants find success. So yeah, I mean, sky's the limits, really.
100%. Like, I love that. And I think it's, for you guys, I'm sure it's super meaningful, right? Because the impact that you're making are literally changing people's lives, right? Who before were not able to, make ends meet or were not like happy with their jobs. And now they're able to, make, a good living by using your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love hearing those stories. I love when we hear that we're helping somebody's business, but it's a whole other thing when I hear that we're powering their entire business and that's how they're making their living is just through our platform. It's pretty surreal to know that we've built something that valuable for a lot of people. And I couldn't be happier when I hear these stories.
For sure. So if you could go back in time to before you started this business, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wish I got started sooner. I mean, from a personal perspective, I was on a different path, just not on an entrepreneurial pathway. So I wish I would have got started sooner. I guess one other thing that I would have told myself or would advise to somebody that's getting started is you just really need to obsess about your target customer. You need to really know if you're solving an actual problem for them, not just solving a problem that you think exists. And you need to really spend a lot of time talking to the people that you're trying to solve for. We got sort of lucky because we saw the problem that we thought was a problem and we launched it and it resonated with a lot of people. But there's countless of other stories where people just think it's a problem, they launch it, and it turns out not that many people really see it as a problem or they're not willing to pay for it. So I would say that that's probably the biggest thing that a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs fail with. And I think it's very, very important. So I guess I would say that.
Makes sense. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you or wanted to use DropCommerce, do you mind sharing best ways to get in contact with you, best ways to find DropCommerce as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is dropcommerce.com. You can find us on all of the top e-commerce platforms, app stores. You can get in contact with me on X at just at Spencer Bonthoux, as well as on LinkedIn. Those are the easiest ways to follow me and then get in contact with me. I'm always happy to hear from people that are aspiring entrepreneurs or interested in using our service.
Well, Spencer, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It was great.